Now, Malachi says, you are stealing from God. How? We've never stolen from God. Oh, yes, you have. You have. Unpaid tithes and offerings. See how Malachi pins them to the ground. They object and say, we're not like that. He says, yes, you are. And he spells it out, and they can't say a thing. They have not kept up the 10% tithe to God or the voluntary offerings. He says, therefore, you are under a curse. Because the law of tithing in the law of Moses says if you pay, God blesses you, and if you don't, he curses you to the third and fourth generation. Now, praise God, Christians are not under that law. I have never preached tithing in my life. I've preached giving. Because in the New Testament, we're to give out of gratitude, and the Lord doesn't want your gift if you don't want to give it. But in the Old Testament, they had to tithe. It is not a Christian practice, but it was a Jewish practice. And my wife and I sat and listened to a young man in a church preaching on tithing, which he shouldn't, but at least he was honest. He gave them the whole story, and he said to the congregation, if you don't tithe, your grandchildren and great-grandchildren will suffer, because the law says to the third and fourth generation. He said, you'll be under the curse, and you'll put your grandchildren under a curse. Do you want to do that? Then let's take up the offering for this morning. And they got the biggest offering I think they had for years. But I said afterwards to the leaders of that church, that was wicked teaching. If you're going to teach tithe, you've got to teach the curse of not tithing as well as the blessing of tithing. And the Jews, you could say that to, but to say that to a Christian congregation is wicked. And it makes people give out of fear, but the Lord loves a cheerful giver under the new covenant. But I just throw that out because too many churches teach tithing, and it's not the law for Christians. We are to give out of sheer gratitude to God. And frankly, churches that are taught giving give far more than tithing. For some people, tithing would be far too little, and for others it would be far too much. And we need to be much more flexible. But they were under this law, and he says you're already under the curse because you haven't brought the tithes.